Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be covering the brand new Tower of God New World updated tier list. But before I get started on the video, make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe, and also turn post notification bells so that you guys can always stay tuned as I post new videos. I really appreciate it. And if you guys are new here on the channel, I have a Discord server, so if you guys have any questions regarding Tower of God New World and Reverse 1999, you can join the server by going to my channel description. You see the server link there, and I'll also post a server link in the comment section down below. But anyways, let's not waste any time. Let's hop right into the video. So, as you guys can see here, the tier list for Tower of God New World is completely different. We have a story category, we have a boss category, and we also have the PvP category. Now, this tier list is absolutely huge because it is a huge change. Because back in the, if we go back to the other tier list that I covered on my channel, you guys can clearly see that this tier list is completely different compared to the previous tier list that I covered. So the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, none other than HWARYUN. Seeing that HWARYUN is on A tier in story mode, now in my opinion, I'm gonna have to disagree the fact that HWARYUN is on A tier in story mode, because I feel like HWARYUN is one of the most cracked characters in the game. Saying that she is A tier in story mode, I don't really know about that, because if you're saying that she is A tier in story mode and that Evankhell is SS tier in story mode, well, this is the thing. Evankhell, in order for Evankhell to be good, you have to have a lot of copies on her, because if you don't have a lot of copies on her, she's going to be extremely squishy and she's going to die immediately. HWARYUN, on the other hand, you don't really need a lot of copies on HWARYUN because she can provide a lot of value to your team. She can give your team attack buff, she can give your team increased swiftness, she can also increase the crit for your team so that they can do more damage, and she can also provide shields, and she can also do good damage. So saying that she is A tier for story mode, I don't really know about that. I'm gonna have to disagree with that personally, but in my opinion, I feel like for story mode she is still double S tier, because her value in the game is just absolutely insane. Now we also have the new SSR character, Joaquin. Now for Joaquin, he is a really amazing unit. Like I said, I literally made a video talking about him. The only issue with Joaquin is his survivability, and that is literally it. If you can manage to make him survive on the battlefield, he will do a lot of damage, and he can also heal himself up. So the only thing that you have to worry about with Joaquin is accuracy and survivability, because even though he does a lot of damage, you still have to worry about accuracy. Like, can he actually land his attacks? So if he can actually land his attacks and survive, he is going to be an insane cracked character. So overall, Joaquin is a really good unit. You definitely don't want to miss out on this unit at all. But like I said, the only issue is survivability, but the same can be said for almost every single character in the game. Survivability is a huge factor when it comes to whether or not the character is good. If the character is extremely squishy, then it is really hard to put that character on the top of the tier list, because you can't really say that the character is good if all they do is die. But Joaquin, if you get a lot of copies on him, he can actually stay alive. You just have to make him stay alive, and he'll provide a lot of value to your team for sure by doing a lot of damage. Now, in the SS tier, we also have Kun Aguero. Now, I've been saying this for a long time now. Kun Aguero is a really good unit overall. He provides so much value because he's able to paralyze. He has an AoE stun, so that is really good, and he's also able to buff up purple element attacks. So if you have other dark units on your team, for example Joaquin, if you're using Kaseya, if you're using purple units on your team, Kun Aguero is definitely going to be that type of unit that you want to use, because he's going to buff up their attack, and he's also going to provide that AoE stun. So Kun Aguero, really solid unit. I definitely agree that he is SS tier in story and PvP. I 100% agree, because Kun Aguero, the more copies you have on him, the more he becomes a menace. Really solid character. Now, another character I also want to talk about in the SS tier category is Bomb. As you guys can see, Bomb is literally an SS tier in all categories. He's an SS tier for story, bossing, and PvP. So all around, Bomb is a really amazing character. And the reason why he's just so good is because he's an energy restoration character. He can provide energy to your team, and he can also increase attack. So Bomb is just overall a universally good character. He can basically work in any team. The only thing that you have to worry about once again is survivability. You don't have to worry about accuracy because he doesn't really, you don't have to really focus on damage when it comes to Bomb. You just want him to provide energy to your team and you want him to survive so that he can provide buffs to your team, and that's basically it. So Bomb all around, really amazing character. Now, we're moving on to the SSR unit that we've had before Joaquin, which is this guy right here, Novik. So Novik, he is placed in the B tier category for story and PvP. Now, I kind of agree because I feel like Novik, the biggest problem with Novik is survivability, and the thing is that he's a tank unit. So if you're a tank unit and you're squishy, then it's like your value completely diminishes because the whole point of you being a tank unit is for you to take damage. So if you're a tank unit and you're dying, then your purpose is just completely gone, because the whole reason, like the only reason why you're on my team is because you need to take damage for the team and you need to provide some sort of value to the team where the team can take less damage. So Novik is definitely, I definitely agree that he's B tier because his survivability is a really big problem. He's extremely squishy because he'll just run straight towards the enemy and just immediately die. But I'll say that Novik definitely has a lot of potential, especially against bosses, because for his exclusive equipment, if we look at his exclusive equipment, level 4, the attack of enemies locked by Crimson Soul Fist Seal Zone decreases by 50% while Novik is on the battlefield. So basically, when he does his ultimate, anybody who's inside his zone, they're going to receive less damage. So that is really good. And I feel like for his skills, the fact that he can silence enemies, like as you guys can see, he can literally silence enemies for like 6 seconds. I feel like that is a really good active because that can basically prevent bosses from, like, you know, spamming their special skills. So I feel like Novik, he's not a bad unit. He's not mid, but I'll say in terms of like story and PvP, he's definitely hard to use in story and PvP. But against bosses, I already made a video talking about how good he is against Quant and Mock Battle. He is absolutely amazing against Quant and Mock Battle. So Novik is definitely a good unit. He's not bad, but I'll say that he's only good against bosses, and that's pretty much it. Now we move on to none other than Endorsey. Now Endorsey is going to be A tier for story, S tier for bossing, and S tier for PvP. Now I kind of agree that Endorsey is A tier in story because, like I said, Endorsey, she can do a lot of damage. Endorsey is a really good character. The only thing that bothers me about Endorsey is, of course, her survivability. When she dies, of course, she's going to inflict that snake charm, which is going to do a lot of damage. But the real question is that if she places that snake charm on the enemy, can you defeat that enemy on time before the snake charm goes away? Because when she places the snake charm on the enemy, if it doesn't go away, you have to kill that enemy before the snake charm goes away. If it goes away and you haven't killed the enemy, then she permanently dies. So you definitely have to consider the fact that Endorsey, in order for her to be extremely good, she has to survive. That's 1. 2, you definitely want to pair up with units that can do good damage, because if she dies, she can revive herself. So pairing up with the units such as Yua, because Yua has that AoE attack, is a really good pair for Endorsey, because the fact that you have the AoE attack, then you basically get a guaranteed hit on almost every single enemy on the battlefield, which allows Endorsey to revive herself. So I'll say Endorsey is definitely a good unit. Damage wise, she is absolutely spectacular. Damage wise, her damage is absolutely good. But I'll say the only thing you have to worry about once again is accuracy. But other than that, she can literally block energy from the opponent. Like, she can basically place a debuff on the opponent where they can't spam their ultimate because she has an energy block. So Endorsey, definitely a solid unit. I definitely agree with her position on this tier list. Now, another character I also want to talk about is none other than Uric Mazino. Now, Uric Mazino, as you guys can see, he is in the SS tier for story and SS tier for PvP. The reason why Uric Mazino is such a game-changing unit is because of his shield. The fact that he's able to provide shield, he's able to inflict swiftness debuff on the enemy. That is extremely good, and before he dies, he's able to apply an AoE stun to the entire battlefield. So I'll say Uric Mazino is definitely one of the best SSR plus units we've had in a while, because before Uric Mazino we had Vile, and Vile was just honestly not that good at all. But Ulrich Mazino, he's definitely a solid unit. Wait, I forgot about this guy, Kunadon. Kunadon is also good as well, but Ulrich Mazino, I feel like Ulrich Mazino, out of all the SSR Plus units that we've had recently, he's definitely up there on that tier list because of the amount of value his kit has. He provides shield, swiftness decrease, AoE stun. It's just a lot to his kit that is just really, really good. So Ulrich Mazino, if you don't have this character, make sure that you actually try to get him. Like, if you have the opportunity to get him, you really want to pick him up because he can almost work in every single team. Now, I would definitely want to talk about Lozelle. Now, you guys remember that video I made about Lozelle? It was like a couple months ago, but I literally made a video on her saying that she has potential to be one of the best healers in the game. Not the best, but one of the best. And I was right, because look at her position on the tier list. In story mode, she is S tier, and in PvP, she is S tier. The reason why she has a lot of potential to be a really good healing unit is because she's like one of the only units that she's one of the only healing units that have AoE healing. Of course, Rack has AoE healing, but it's not as good as Lozelle, because Lozelle, her healing is absolutely cracked. The more you have copies on her, the more healing she can provide to your team. Now, like I said, the only problem with Lozelle is that she runs towards the enemy instead of her staying in the back line. Instead of her staying in the back, and basically just healing your team, she's basically fighting opponents when she's a healer. So I'll say that's like the only thing that sucks about Lozelle, is the fact that she runs into the front lines while she should be in the back. But I think the reason why they made her like that is because the fact that she has an AoE healing, it would make sense for her to be, in the center of your team, so that she can heal up everybody in her team. Because if she's just standing in the back healing everybody one by one, then her AoE healing would basically be useless because everybody's staying away from her. So I feel like that's like the main reason why they made her a melee unit instead of like a projectile unit. So I'll say Lozelle, definitely really good healer. Is she better than Gia? In my opinion, I don't think so, because Gia, her healing is just absolutely cracked. But I'll say Lozelle definitely has potential to be one of the best healing units in the game. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk about Kaseya. Now, Kaseya, like I said, the only issue with Kaseya is accuracy. If you can get a lot of accuracy on Kaseya, she is going to be absolutely insane. Her damage is crazy. She can do a lot of damage. She has bleeding. She's able to apply invincibility to herself. She can teleport to an enemy. She's a really solid unit overall. But like I said, you want to have a lot of accuracy on her, because if you don't have accuracy on Kaseya, she's going to be extremely terrible because she won't be able to land her attacks. And the whole point of her kit is for her to land attacks. If she can't land attacks, then she won't be able to provide any value to your team. So you definitely want to build a lot of accuracy on Kaseya. But overall, Kaseya, really solid unit overall. Now, out of all the SSR Plus units on this tier list, I'm going to say that I'm really surprised that Evan Kell is on SS tier. I thought that Evan Kell was going to go down the tier list, but she's still in SS tier, which basically proves that out of all like the DPS SSR Plus units we've had so far, Evan Kell is still on top. And I kind of agree with that, because her potential, she's actually really, really good. But like I said, in order for Evan Kell to be really good, you need to have a lot of copies on her. Right now I have like 3 green stars on her, but the more copies you have on her, the more crazy she'll become. So overall, Evan Kell is a really, really solid unit. So those are like mainly like the main characters I wanted to touch on this tier list. For all the rest of the characters, I mean, I'm not surprised that they're pretty low on the tier list. Like, I'm just surprised the fact that they put HWARYUN on A tier. I'm not gonna lie, like A tier for HWARYUN, I don't know about that. I would definitely put her on like S tier or even SS tier, because HWARYUN, she just has so much value. And the fact that she can literally solo a lot of content in this game, and I've seen it happen before, because she can apply the barrier to herself. She just does a lot. So A tier, putting her on the same tier as Yellowy and Amigo Shars is just not sitting right with me. So I would definitely bump her up to S tier or SS tier. But we pretty much covered like, all the units. She's still like SS tier in boss category, but for PvP, I would still put her in SS tier for sure. But I'll say, like, out of all the characters, this is one I mainly disagree with. I mainly disagree with HWARYUN's position, because A tier for story, that's just not it, man. For me, that's just not it. But overall, pretty solid tier list. Joaquin, like I said, if you guys are interested as to whether or not Joaquin is good, Joaquin is actually really good, but the only issue is of course survivability. If you put him in a dark team, increasing his attack, he's gonna do a lot of damage. Like, his damage is actually crazy. So Joaquin has a lot of potential, and he's a really solid character. And Karaka. Now, Karaka, in my opinion, I feel like Karaka, he's definitely that type of unit where you're gonna need a lot of copies in order for him to be extremely good. But if you don't have a lot of copies on Karaka, he won't really provide a lot of value to your team. The only thing that he will provide to your team is fear, and that is basically it. Other than that, Karaka, I feel like Karaka is extremely squishy. Even though he has that revive, he will literally die instantly. But if you have a lot of copies on him, he's going to be absolutely cracked. So overall, I'll say this tier list, I will give this tier list like I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. Only reason why I give it a 7 out of 10 is, once again, the HWARYUN. I feel like HWARYUN's position is just not accurate in my opinion. But other than that, this is a pretty accurate tier list. You got, Evan still in SS tier, Bomb, SS tier as well, Yiwa. Yiwa is still one of the most busted DPS characters in the game because she literally wipes off the entire, like, she's able to wipe out enemy teams instantly. Like, she's still broken. So honestly, I don't know any other DPS unit in the future that's able to basically be better than Yiwa in terms of like AoE damage, because she's basically like the AoE queen. Like, she is the best AoE DPS unit in the entire game. So Yiwa definitely up there in terms of like AoE damage. But yeah, that's my take on this tier list. Overall, doesn't seem too bad. They should definitely reposition some of these characters, but yeah, pretty accurate tier list. Seeing that Apple is on top in the boss tier list really makes me happy, because I remember they used to just put her on C tier and that's literally it. But seeing that she's getting a lot of recognition because Apple was able to provide that evasion decrease to enemies, which is really good against bosses. So Apple is definitely a solid unit to choose against bosses. But yeah, put your thoughts down below in the comment section of what you guys think about this tier list. I want to see y'all's opinions. But anyways, I'll be leaving the video at that. Make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate you all for watching this video, and I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.